What we're doing tonight is we have found some questions and posts on Reddit, and we are responding to them as sex therapists, as we are, to give any kind of insight or information pertaining to these situations, which are fascinating. But the rules, okay, I took a screenshot because that's how I roll, of the rules on the sub. So there's Reddit, but then there's subreddits, which are topics, certain topics on Reddit. Is that what a subreddit is?
I believe, right.
Okay, good. I don't feel like the only person who doesn't know what's going on then. Like, it's not like everybody knows what a subreddit is.
I don't think so.
I
I mean,
don't
maybe
know.
it's you. Maybe we're lame.
Feel free to pop into the chat and tell us what we're getting wrong here, because I'm sure there's a lot. So I guess the subreddits that we probably focused on were relationship advice, and I think there was another one, like, it was called something like sex advice or sexual relationships, something to that effect. But like when you read someone's post, there's like a whole bunch of rules underneath. Did you see that?
Yep.
And I was like, most of these are just confusing to me. Some of them make sense. Like, we don't allow any type of situations involving minors. Okay, that's understandable. But then it's like, we do not allow any type of, am I the asshole? Like, what is that? Am I What's the rule to that? Am I the asshole? And then, okay, we don't allow any name calling, insults, etc. Okay,
That must be why. If they're not allowing name calling, that must be why. Because there is like a trend of, am I the asshole? This is my situation and this is how I'm feeling about it.
okay. So then it's like,
They don't want people saying, yes, you're an asshole.
it's just okay. It's just a weird way of phrasing it, right? It's like even like in a link, like you can. I haven't clicked on it, but and then they don't allow referencing hateful subreddits in their rhetoric, which are, I don't even think I should say them because we're live and I don't know. I don't know if it's going to flag our live stream. Like, I'm just not going to say it, but they're interesting terms that I've never heard of.
Interesting.
Often having to do with pills of different colors.
Oh.
I don't know. It's weird. Oh, okay. I feel like I could probably say this. Also referring to people as alpha, beta, friend zoned. Like if you're like, oh, I'm friend zoned, like you'll get kicked off. What does that
Doesn't
mean?
make sense. Reddit seems a little excessive in their rules.
Like, but it's Reddit, right? You would think that, like, hey, we allow anything here. Then it's
You don't
like,
allow the word friend zoned, but you allow porn?
right, exactly. And then here's the thing: we don't refer to people as Chads, Tyrones, or Stacy's, Pick-me's, or porn sick. I genuinely don't know what any of that means. And I don't know, maybe we shouldn't even be talking about this on here. I have no idea. But
I would love to learn. If anyone wants to educate us, like, please feel free.
I have to Google all of this. And like, I get porn sick? What does that even mean? Is that if you have like a pornography addiction? Like, and then the other one, the one that I have heard this before, and I feel like there's problems here, but we've got, well, what we cannot give advice on. Advice, unsolicited advice, rants, medical conditions, mental illness, letters to an ex. That's odd. Like, they put this in the rules. Like, we will not give you advice on letters to an ex. And then body counts or numbers of sexual partners. Body counts? That's
This
how.
is why people need to be coming to us and not subreddit.
Body count sounds like you're a serial killer. It does
Right.
not, you know what I mean? It's just such a dehumanizing term. Like, what's your body count? How many
Yeah.
bodies have you had sex with? Anyway, I just found that very interesting and a little strange. Okay. Oh, we have somebody messaging me here trying to get onto our live stream. Oh, we have some viewers, so must have worked. Okay. So, who's starting off? Do you want me to start off tonight with my first post? Okay. Let me pull up my screenshots. I know other people save things on their phones. Do you do the same?
Yeah, I screenshot it as well. I thought that was easiest.
Good. All right. I'm not the only one. I just feel like everything I do is like prehistoric.
Not the most technologically savvy. Here we are streaming.
You know what? We should be proud. We should be proud that we've come this far. I don't know how much further we'll go, but we've come this far. Okay, so the first post I have here, the title is Me, a 40-year-old male, and my wife, 40-year-old female, are no longer having sex. We are married for 15 years now, started going to couples therapy after sex twice a month wasn't enough for me. During the sessions, I realized that for years, my wife didn't want to have sex at all and did it only for me. She says that when we were having sex, she mostly enjoyed it, but she almost never wanted it. We agreed that we shouldn't have sex if she doesn't want to, and as a result, we had sex only twice in the last year. We do kiss and touch each other's bodies, but not genitals or anything explicitly sexual. My wife was sexually abused as a kid by a family member once and is suffering from major depression, medically treated. The fact that we have no sex life bothers her because of me, not that she misses it. But she can't bring herself to want it. I'm basically now in a platonic relationship, but thinking about sex all the time. We recently agreed, she offered, I thought about it but didn't share, that I should find a sexual partner or an escort because we are not seeing how this is going to be fixed. And after this, I had sex with an escort several times. She feels relieved that she doesn't have to do this and that I get some, but it's definitely not the same. Is that it? No more sex on this marriage?
That's so.
And I should have prefaced this with, there obviously is a reference to sexual abuse in this post, and there will likely be some references to abuse or issues around consent in our live stream tonight. So just take care of yourself, be mindful. If that is triggering for you, it's okay to skip this stream. So that's a tough situation. Victoria, do you have any initial kind of thoughts? And reminder, we obviously don't know who these people are. We are therapists. Therapists in general don't really give advice to people. We can, but more often than not, we help guide people to finding their own solutions and their own answers for themselves, right? So we are here to kind of share some information and knowledge around these scenarios that might potentially be helpful for somebody in this situation, but ultimately, we can't have all of the answers, right? If that makes sense.
I feel like most of the time when we're giving advice, it's often just psychoeducation. For example, someone doesn't know how to regulate their emotions, and we're giving coping skill education and advising them, hey, you should use these coping skills when you're feeling dysregulated. That's a kind of advice, but not like, you should get married or you should get divorced, like that kind of thing.
Yes, good point. Yeah, like major life decisions, we wouldn't tell people what they should or shouldn't do. We might express concern, like if there was a situation of abuse going on. So just know that as we share our thoughts and insight related to these situations, that certainly this is not even close to what therapy would be like, but we're just throwing some ideas out there and information out there in case anyone listening can relate to the situation. Or maybe whoever wrote this is listening right now. Wouldn't that be wild?
It would be wild. It'd be very random.
That would be like a intervention of the universe or something if that were the case.
I feel for the both of them, when I think of someone who's experienced sexual abuse, it makes sense that they might feel triggered by sex or sexual activity and not have that desire, right? Especially probably that spontaneous desire that we've previously kind of covered. So I think for someone who's experienced that, like if they haven't done trauma work in therapy, like maybe undergone EMDR, which is eye movement, and
Oof. I, that's all I got. Eye movement.
I had it, and then it left my brain. And desensitization, and there's something else. There's another word in there. But anyways, there's different types of trauma therapy.
You did better than I would have. I would have not even gotten the eye movement part. I would have been like, I don't know, an E and there's an M and.
Oh man, but that's been shown to be eye
Oh.
movement desensitization and reprocessing. Thank you.
Thank you, S. Korea 11.
Yes, so people could undergo different types of trauma therapy to help them work through triggers and not feel so intense around them, and maybe enjoy what is going on a little bit more, you know. So that makes sense to me in terms of a lack of desire on her end, right?
I agree. I think this is a situation that has a lot of layers to it.
Yes.
And there's some positives here. It sounds like this man's wife is getting treatment for depression, and that they have tried couples therapy. I think that it demonstrates that there is a willingness to try to seek help and support, which is already like going to do a lot for them. Let's see, I took some notes here of all of the different layers of this situation. So, okay, he says his wife is only doing it for him. However, when they do have sex, she mostly enjoys it. And to me, that could be a sign that she has more of a responsive desire type, which we've covered in previous live streams. A responsive desire type is when you feel mental desire in response to something pleasurable. So first, something pleasurable needs to be happening. And for some people, that's actually initiating and starting to have some sort of intimate sexual contact with a partner. It can mean a lot of different things. There are other variables and factors to consider that would help somebody be more open to being responsive to pleasure in some way. So I think that is possibly a positive sign here, that once that ball gets rolling, his wife does seem to enjoy the sex that they are having. I'm not sure what went into the decision around we've decided if she doesn't want to do it, we just shouldn't. Because I think we might be talking about a couple of different things. If we're talking about consent and issues with consent, of course, nobody should feel pressured, intimidated, obligated to do anything that they're not comfortable with. But in this case, we're talking about what sounds like a loving relationship between two people who want to have a better sex life and feel upset around this struggle, right? So I think that if you were to wait only for we have a question here.
It more so seems like a promotion offer. So thank you, but we're gonna keep going.
Your timing is impeccable. Oh, that's okay. Thank you anyway. Like, you have such a nicer response to people, Victoria.
You just laugh.
Who's the real therapist here? Okay. What was I saying? That's part of the problem, is now I'm going to be like, wait, it's a good thing our stream is not like, have you seen other people's streams? The chat box is like rapid fire, like questions, like I don't even think I could handle it, honestly.
I feel like you can. We just have to make sure you don't look over at the chat until you're done sentence.
Oh gosh. Okay. So we're talking about the difference between like consent, issues with consent, and struggles with in regards to or just accommodating for somebody who has a responsive desire type. If you put the ball in the court of somebody who has a responsive desire type and just kind of say, well, if we'll only have sex when you feel like it, you might be waiting a long time. That it's about knowing what is true for you as an individual and what your desire type is and what works for you, and then taking that information and applying it and creating the context where there is pleasure and you can be open to being sexual and being intentional about it. Because when I hear like, we'll just wait for you to be in the mood, it kind of sounds like we're expecting both people to spontaneously be in the mood, which is not how some people's desire type functions.
Right. Right. I agree with you. I like your point about consent because I think that fortunately there has been a lot more talk around consent in education, um, with like the Me Too movement, things like that. And so I think that there is, more knowledge and pressure to be really mindful about consent. So I can see how someone would hear, oh, they're having sex when they don't want to, and like panic and be like, we're only going to have sex when you want to. So they're not feeling any sort of like, ooh, this doesn't feel right, which is great. But then we're not having the education too around the responsive desire that you're talking about and normalizing that. So we need both.
Right.
Both are important.
Right. And I think that, I'm not sure what kind of couples therapy this couple has received, but somebody who specializes in sex therapy and who has some more knowledge base around that, I think would be best suited to help you understand those aspects of one another. So that was a first thought. The other thought I had is around sort of more the cultural context. Why somebody might kind of turn themselves off to sex and sexual desire. And sometimes that's like kind of taking a stance in one's own autonomy, right? If you see sex as a duty or an obligation, it then feels like it's another thing on your to-do list. It's a part of your role that you have as, let's say, a wife. And it becomes more about that, like, oh, I'm supposed to do this to please my husband or my partner, not because I want it for myself. And I think that could, that comes from some systemic issues about gender roles and how you keep a man happy and how you keep him satisfied. What does a good spouse do, a good wife do? And you end up denying your own sexual part of yourself and making it about serving someone else, which is, that happens in a sexual relationship, and that those gender roles and norms can kind of bleed into a lot of other areas of life. So I think that could be something to explore, beliefs around the obligation or duty or to please someone else, and how you might be able to shift your core beliefs about yourself and your role in a relationship and connect with your own sexual self.
Right. When you talk about the different roles, I think about like whether or not you have children or you're caretaking, right? And you have to balance that, like, I'm kind of a mother or caretaker and I'm supposed to be a sexual being, right? Like, these things don't necessarily go hand in hand. I think that's hard to balance.
Yeah, it is, and that like idea of I have to take care of other people and serve people just expands. If you have kids, young kids, aging parents, the caregiver role that women often fall into can serve as a barrier to your own sexuality and your sexual self, because that's more about what you want for you simply because you want it and you desire it. And I think that being a survivor of sexual abuse kind of compounds that, this idea of like, I want autonomy of my own body. I want to be able to say no and to turn off this part of myself. Sometimes that can be just a step in reclaiming oneself and not wanting to feel like you have a duty or an obligation or that something is being taken from you. So I think that could also be a role for this wife potentially here. And the post does not mention if she is in individual therapy or addressing her trauma in her own therapy. I think that would be something to consider as well. Anything more you want to say on that, Victoria?
No, I just feel for them. And I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that their situation is abnormal. I think that there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of relationships that struggle with frequency
Mm-hmm.
around sex and having mismatch in desire. And
Mm-hmm.
this definitely complicates it more with the abuse history, right?
Mm-hmm. There's a couple more layers. This one's got a lot of complications that I see here. Um, I think that opening up the marriage for the husband to engage with other sexual partners, whether that be just other relationships or escorts, I think is a risky move here, especially if they're not feeling like secure in their relationship and feeling like solid, like we've got a good foundation, we have our stuff figured out. Instead, he's trying to meet a need that they're struggling to figure out. And so it doesn't seem like they've landed in a place that feels really okay for the two of them. So I think that could, she's feeling relieved. Oh, now I don't have to fill that need. But I don't know all the details, of course, but it sounds like that might be something I would caution someone doing.
I agree with you. That can be a mistake that couples make when they're opening up their
Mm-hmm.
relationship if they're doing it to save it. We had talked about this, talking about
Mm-hmm.
polyamory, right? So if this would be an attempt to save it because, they're not satisfied with their
Mm-hmm.
sex life right now, that doesn't usually end up good. And it's about working on your relationship first
Mm-hmm.
and making it secure. I agree
Right,
with you 100%.
right. I think that um, opening up your marriage is about expanding your experience, not necessarily trying to save something that doesn't feel okay in your current relationship. So, and then the other thing is she's on depression medication. It sounds like, it says it's being medically treated. I'm assuming that's what that meant. And a lot of depression medications also can impact sexual desire, or the ability, and with physical arousal, it can affect your ability to have an orgasm. So that can also potentially be a factor. Don't know how long she's been on medication, but it might be something for her to talk to her prescriber about. There might be an alternative she could try that doesn't have the same side effects. And so those are all factors I see kind of contributing to this situation for this couple.
That's a great point. And yeah, if you're feeling depressed like that alone, right? You're feeling
Mm-hmm.
fatigued, feeling unmotivated, and sex can really feel like work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see even just that alone, isolated, causing reduced desire there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think that is everything I had to say on that
I had to.
Reddit post.
And
Um,
if anyone's watching and they have their own questions while we're
mhm.
going through questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat and, we'll provide some general thoughts, right?
Absolutely. And I guess we're also learning as we have people jumping into the chat, and is how, how we balance mid sentence and also seeing a chat come in. So we're going to work on that. Where if you write a question, we might finish a thought or two and then go and read the question. At least that's maybe what would make the most sense for my brain. I don't know about you, Victoria. Maybe you can multitask better.
I guess, we might find out. I don't know. It is distracting too. I also got distracted with that very lengthy comment.
His first, who is exemplary sittin'. Oh, exemplary sittin'. Hello, sorry to bother you. I want to offer a promotion of your channel. That,
Thank you, but no thank you.
and it was a bother. No, just kidding.
Just kidding.
Please send.
But please feel free to stay and watch.
I hope you will stay and enjoy.
Yeah, please follow us.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. All right. So here's one of the Reddits that I had found. The title is "My Boyfriend Just Stopped Sex Because I Was Rubbing My Clit." And for anyone who doesn't know, a clit is a clitoris, part of the vulva or the vagina that creates pleasure. Its
Mm-hmm.
sole job is pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this person said, I kept going to rub it during missionary because I like it and it's the easiest way to get off, have an orgasm. And her boyfriend kept moving her hand. He didn't rub it himself after moving her hand, and she also thought it was normal for her to help herself get off, but he moved it off of her and said, "We're done here." So she says, when I asked why, he said, "It's because it means he's doing a bad job if I need to do that to come." So she's saying that he thinks that if she's rubbing her clitoris during sex, he's doing a bad job at sex. She's explained that that's not the case at all, and that he's not doing a bad job, and that she loves having sex with him. She explained that sometimes she just likes to do that because that's what the clitoris is there for, and he was pretty upset. She tried to reinitiate sex, but he threw his clothes on and said he wasn't horny anymore, so she didn't keep trying. They've been long distance. He was visiting, and then he would not come out of his room. She feels like she's done something horribly wrong, and she feels guilty. She's so upset. What else can she do here? That's what she's asking. So there's a lot of that, a lot of layers in that too, and a lot there. My initial thought is, I feel for the both of them yet again. I think a lot of people might jump to kind of probably criticize this boyfriend, hopefully, if they have education around the clitoris and like how important it is for pleasure and how normal it is to want to either contact that yourself or have your partner contact it during sex. We had talked about, in general sex education, using the clitoris, stimulating the clitoris, is the easiest, quickest, fastest, most reliable way to achieve an orgasm.
Sometimes the only way.
Sometimes the only way.
Yeah, often the only way. Right.
Often the only way. It's rarer to have an orgasm without any clitoral stimulation whatsoever. So that's so normal to want to do that. So I think people that know that might jump to criticizing him, for criticizing her. But to me, he's radiating maybe some insecurity, and I feel for that, and maybe a lack of education, a lack of knowledge, and he's just feeling not good enough. And so I feel for that too, that he just needs education around this. And it's actually, I don't think that uncommon, but I think it's more so when we hear about it, it's directed towards toys, such as vibrators or dildos. Sometimes partners have a hard time with that, feeling like they're not enough. I've heard that from plenty of clients, that they don't feel like enough when their partner is needing a toy as well, which is also like really common because we see it as taking it to the next level, ensuring an orgasm, right? But some people see it as a criticism,
which is so unfortunate in this situation, that there is obviously misinformation that this boyfriend has. He feels like he should be enough to please his partner. His penis should be enough, I'm assuming, to get her to...
He wasn't touching it.
Right.
The clitoris, so.
Right. And, that he should be enough to help her reach orgasm, and that is certainly not the case for most people. So I'm curious about, did they say their ages there?
No, they didn't.
Oh, interesting.
I know they do on Reddit say ages.
I'm assuming they're young, but shouldn't, what?
Who knows?
Oh, right.
Maybe even older. Like, I think it could go both ways, and that I feel like a lot of the older generation also doesn't really have sex education. And there is more maybe ingrained, like, sex myths there.
Yeah. I would hope that they would, like, trial and error figure out a thing or two by the time you're older.
But maybe not.
Maybe not. If anyone is of an older generation listening and you are confused about the clitoris, we still welcome you. We do not want to laugh at you.
No.
Oh, we have a question. Okay, we will get to this question in a moment. I think that my problem here with this scenario is less about his lack of understanding or education and the way he handled this. Yeah. It is her clitoris. If she wants to rub it all day, every day, she should be allowed to do that. Do not whack this girl's hand away from her own clitoris, right?
Restart masturbation.
And then get mad about whack her, and then he doesn't even take over, whacks her hand away, gets upset about it, right? It kind of has a bit of a tantrum about it, it seems, which it's more the handling of it that is bothersome for me to hear about. And I feel for this girl, woman, and So I think there is a little bit of entitlement there that he gets to decide what she's touching on her own body. That's not okay.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from there with like slapping the hand away. I just imagine feeling so like not good enough and
Mm-hmm.
like how painful that must feel.
Mm-hmm.
No. And so I can get that that wasn't him in probably his best moment.
No. It's
If
such a
he's listening to this, I don't want him to feel.
well, if he feels a little bit bad about it now, that's okay because like you know better. And I think yeah, it's a both and, right? You can feel insecure and not have the knowledge and education, and we can empathize with that. And how that was handled was poorly,
Right.
and you're letting your insecurities, um, you know, harm somebody. You know what I mean? Like upset somebody, and so yeah, I think, you you don't have sex with somebody that doesn't let you touch your own clitoris when you feel like touching it. And if hopefully this guy can educate himself, inform. It doesn't sound like he was very open to hearing what she had to say. Let's hope that maybe once he calmed down and was maybe in a more approachable place. But if not, if this boyfriend continued to, be very closed off to understanding what happened there and her own anatomy and what her preferences are, then I would say that relationship, you should consider if this relationship is working for you. And so there's still a lot we don't know about what happened beyond that situation, and right.
I think, that person was asking if there was anything else that they could do. If this is going on for anyone, like what I would maybe suggest to throw out there is, throw some education their way,
Mm-hmm.
throw some podcasts their way, throw us their way, some YouTube, and help educate so that it's not just you saying that and they get to know this is totally normal, because it is totally normal. And like we promote this, we promote masturbation, right? Like we promote clitoris love.
We love the clitoris here.
It's its only function, right? So like why are we not using it for its function?
We should get some like posters of like genitalia and just like have it on the walls in the background.
Big old clitoris, right?
Oh, okay.
Right.
Should we go to our
Yeah,
viewer question here? Is it strange that my girlfriend and I only have, I think it's supposed to say sex, once a month? Okay. Guess I would want to understand a little bit more. Is it strange? No. Just first thoughts, no. It's not strange.
Right. I think it depends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are both satisfied with that, if you are both happy with that, that's not strange at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's frequency of sex can look very different for many different couples, and some couples can be happy with very, very little sex if they have like lower desire for some reason, more responsive desire, or they're asexual. And some couples really like a high frequency of sex, so as long as it's, I would say, like not impacting you negatively, totally normal, not strange.
I agree. I think people get way too caught up on frequency.
Yeah.
That's what the magical question everybody wants to know. How often is enough? What is the right number of times to have sex for optimal relationship satisfaction? And really, I think it's more about quality than it is quantity. And so if that once a month is magical and fulfilling, and two people are, being intentional with that time together and are having fun and exploring, great. And everyone feels good about that. Completely normal. There is no frequency that is right for everybody. It's not one size fits all. So I think that would involve having communication with your partner to see if that once a month is the sweet spot for the both of you.
Right. I totally agree.
Great question.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Holly, you pulling one up?
Okay. Oh, yes.
Or I can do it. That's fine.
Nope, it's my turn. Oh, I got a notification that our advertiser promoter here is following us. So I'm glad you decided to stay. Maybe you do that with everybody you advertise to, but you are welcome here. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, it's getting. Okay, here we go. All right, next Reddit post. I am a 20-year-old female. My boyfriend is 20-year-old male. I have come to feel disgusted by him jerking off in the morning. That's the title. My boyfriend jerks off every morning, a lot of the times without asking. Sometimes I get woken up by the bed shaking or him grabbing me. Sometimes he does ask now and I will help him. I don't always really like it though. I have talked about this with him many times. Because before he did this, he would dry hump me every morning without asking, and it went on for at least 6 months. And it probably only stopped because I started to flip out on him about it. I feel like these things have started to affect my sexual attraction towards him. I don't like seeing him jerk off or even knowing he is. I don't like that he does it every day. I wish there was just a break sometimes. As well as the fact it's usually in the morning. I want to be lovey and romantic most of the time I wake up. I don't want to do horny stuff really. I just wish he'd at least get up and go into the bathroom. It also makes me feel like I can't really cuddle with him because he just wants to jump me and touch me always and gets all worked up, and I just want to fucking cuddle. Ugh, it's annoying. It makes me feel almost unloved, and I don't know how to fix or overcome this.
Really, really hard.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I especially did not love the lack of consent there at the beginning, right? Just like grabbing her and doing things without consent. You know, we do not advise that unless if you have like a CNC, like a consensual, non-consensual agreement, sure. But if there is no agreement there and you're not focusing on consent, like that is not okay.
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns about this scenario. It certainly sounds like there hasn't been any discussion about this, or it sounds like they talked a lot about it, but the talking was around how she does not like being woken up in this way, being grabbed at, him being sexual with himself every morning in her presence, and kind of like using her for sexual gratification without her full awareness, even if she's sleeping. And she simply doesn't like it. So yeah, biggest concern here is around consent. And I like Emily Nagowski's definition of consent. She is the author of Come As You Are. I will read that for you. Emily's definition of consent. Everyone is glad to be there and free to leave with no unwanted consequences. Plus, there is no unwanted pain. So glad to be there and free to leave with no unwanted consequences. So here in this situation, she is not glad to be there.
And be like not able to leave if he's grabbing at her.
Right? Yeah. If he's like physically kind of intervening there. So I think that it sounds like this woman has expressed her feelings and her discomfort with this, and her boyfriend has continued to engage in this behavior despite her saying she does not like it. So I think that there's, some concerns with respect in this relationship, feelings of entitlement, that his sexual gratification is most important, versus her level of comfort and what she's okay with. Also, I have concerns about the boyfriend. This sounds like possibly some hypersexual behavior here. There might be some problems with controlling sexual behaviors and some impulsivity that might need to be considered. Perhaps he needs to seek some therapy himself to figure out if that's a factor here.
And I think to clarify, like, it's okay to masturbate every day.
Mm-hmm.
If it is not impacting any part of your life or you're functioning in a negative way, masturbate every day. Like, you do you explore your body, you love your body, that's great. But to follow up on what you were saying, it's about that, like, compulsion, like that impulsiveness, that, like, not taking into account other people's feelings. It is impacting the functioning here because it's impacting the relationship. Like, that's when it's becoming a problem and where maybe a sex therapist should be involved.
Totally agree. Well said. Yeah. Second that. Nothing wrong with masturbating every day. But if it's negatively impacting people around you or causing harm in some way to yourself or somebody else, then yes, take a second look at that.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Anything else about that?
Oh, I wrote down too, Emily Nagoski talks about this enthusiastic maybe that we hear about with consent, and not necessarily related to this situation, but when we think about her definition of consent, glad to be there, able to leave with no negative consequences, no unwanted pain. That we hear this term though, like an enthusiastic yes is what consent is, and she's sort of encouraged people to reconsider that sometimes it's an enthusiastic maybe, that part of being sexual is exploration and curiosity. And so sometimes we're trying things that we don't know if we can say with enthusiasm, yes, we want to do this. We're exploring. So an enthusiastic maybe is also conducive to having a healthy consensual experience too.
I love that. I love the emphasis on enthusiasm because, like, if it's a hesitant maybe, then probably should consider that to be a no until there's more exploring, right? But if it's enthusiastic, I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Should we do one more?
Yes.
All right. Let's see here. Let's see. So, sex with a friend, question mark. I have a male 47-year-old friend that I, a 29-year-old female, have known for years. Not interested in dating, but maybe a sexual relationship. Has anyone been in this spot? I'm worried it will ruin our friendship, but who knows? Also, I would never date him. Totally not interested in long term. I don't know, just wanted to rant about this and see what anyone has to say.
I can only imagine with the internet. Where the internet went every which way with this one, I bet.
I'm sure they did. I think that that's an interesting question. I would have more questions for sure of why. Why are you looking for a sexual relationship with this person? Are you very attracted to them? Or is that like emotional safety of them being your friend, making you feel comfortable to explore sexually? Like, are you a virgin and feeling anxious about it and that might be safe? Or are you not a virgin, but you're wanting to explore maybe different sexual things and you want to do it with someone that you feel safe with? So many questions about that.
Yeah, more questions than answers. I totally agree. There's not a whole lot of information being offered in this post. This idea that hooking up with a friend could ruin the friendship. I think there's some risk there. Yeah, there's some validity. I mean, you're crossing a threshold from what has been platonic and friendship into something a lot more vulnerable and intimate. And I don't mean intimacy in the sense of romantic or, an emotional connection, but there really should be a sense of safety with somebody. And I would imagine that you feel that with someone who's a friend. Like, I feel safe enough to be vulnerable with this person. Could we cross the threshold into a sexual relationship? And normally you hear about these things maybe happening and progressing into a more of like a dating scenario. So if you're like, can we just be friends and hook up and not have and I never want to date this person. I'm also curious about that. Why wouldn't you ever want to date this person? What is it about this person that you're like, well, I'd have sex with them, but never date them? Because
I wonder if it's the age difference because it's like almost 20 years.
oh, wait, did I miss that? What's the age
So
difference?
it's a 47-year-old male and a 29-year-old female.
Oh.
So maybe there's that. Maybe too, like she's feeling that he's very experienced and could help her explore.
Hmm.
There might be part of that. But I do think I agree it's risky because whether you like it or not, there are bonding hormones that are released when you have sex with someone.
Hmm.
You may not be strong enough to have this like I'm gonna marry you. There's something there, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and I wonder, yeah, like why? And is the 20-year age difference here isn't even being really addressed, other than that's just the age that they are. Is
Yeah.
that a factor? Do you feel, I don't know, could there be an intimidation factor that could come up here with there
True.
being such a large age gap?
Some sort of fantasy.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe there's a fantasy that this person wants to play out that they've always been curious about, but don't really want to connect with a relationship. That's interesting,
I
though.
think it would be hard to go back. I mean, I have worked with people who have engaged with friends with benefits, like steadfast in that,
Mm.
no, this is going to be great. And then they
Mm-hmm.
start to develop feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a risk, maybe. I wonder if this person's ever done this before. Have you ever had like a friends with benefits
Right.
situation? What was that like for you? Do you feel like you were able to keep those aspects of the relationship compartmentalized? Um,
Or casual sex, like without friends. I wonder if
mm,
that's negative
mm-hmm.
experiences. Yeah,
Yeah. Lots to explore there.
absolutely. Okay.
Okay. What do you think? Do you think we should wrap up or should we try to fit one more in?
That's up to you. Do you have any quick ones that we could cover?
I have one that might be a good one to close with.
Let's do it.
Okay. Of course, if I had my screenshots up and ready, I wouldn't have you stare at me for a solid 30 seconds.
This is a perfect example about how we are thriving with the technology.
We are winning at this. Oh, okay. Already, I'm not finding it. Hang on. Oh, okay. Here we go. Here we go. Female, 23 years old, virgin. What's the point of having sex? Sounds pathetic, but I'm still a virgin. I feel like life's passing me by and I'm wasting my prime years, but also the world we live in is not ideal. So am I really missing out? The grass is always greener, right? What if I have sex and I'm super unsatisfied, which seems like the norm for a majority of women? I'll just regret it and go back to pleasing myself anyway. So, like, what's the point?
Wow.
Hmm.
That's interesting. Clearly that shows like I guess the societal norm of women not receiving pleasure in the bedroom. I mean, there is a lot of talk around faking orgasms and stuff like that. So I can imagine why someone who hasn't had sex or pleasurable sex would be like, I don't get it. Seems like work.
I mean, I think there's a little bit of validity to that in the sense that I think that it's common for women in their struggle to feel sexually satisfied. And we're talking probably heterosexual relationships mostly. There are a lot of misinformation, misunderstandings, as we spoke about earlier, about female anatomy, how to there is the orgasm gap where male partners are having far more orgasms compared to women. And yeah, that's not wrong. But I also feel like this individual is making a lot of assumptions. And I have some concerns. Um, you know, first of all, the world is not an ideal place. To me, I don't know what this person means by that. That could mean so many different things. Where obviously she's connecting that with the question of what's the point of having sex? You know, do you know a lot of people that have been harmed sexually, sexually abused? What makes this person think the world is not an ideal place? There's obviously a core belief there about the world. And if you feel like the world is not ideal, it would certainly make sense that you would close yourself off to something so vulnerable as having sex with somebody. That's such a vulnerable thing to do, especially for the first time. So I feel like there's some unpacking maybe that would need to happen to better understand that. She also makes an assumption that, like, what if she's super unsatisfied? And that seems to be the norm for so many women. It's the norm for some. It's also the norm for some to have wonderfully satisfying sex lives and to feel sexually fulfilled. I also think, I don't know if there's an assumption here that the very first time someone has sex that, it would make sense that maybe you would feel unsatisfied, but you also don't quite know kind of what you're doing yet. You're just learning something for the first time. So I think keeping your expectations realistic, right? It's something that you're learning to do and uniquely learning what sex is like with the partner you're having sex with. So I think a better assumption would be that it's something that would probably get better with time and skill and practice and learning your body and your partner's body.
Right, exactly. I think sometimes some of the problem with a lack of pleasure is sometimes there's an assumption that your partner should know how to please you, right? And people don't necessarily take charge of their own pleasure. They don't provide direction. They just either hope or expect their partner to know, when really I think it's our jobs to figure out our bodies too and help with that direction, taking charge of it.
Right. I will say I like that she said, once she, with the assumption that, she's just going to be unsatisfied, she said she's just going to go back to pleasing herself anyway, which is like, that's great. I think it's great that I'm assuming that implies masturbation, that you are exploring your own body, you understand what feels pleasurable to you. That is great information should you decide to have sex with somebody, to take with you into that experience and advocate for yourself and teach somebody what works for you. So that would, I think, help with the level of satisfaction of that experience, right? Rather than assume somebody else is just going to kind of know how to wildly please you right off the bat. So, yeah, those are my thoughts about that.
I agree. I support it. We support touching the clitoris.
We should just make the title of this like "In Support of the Clitoris." That's it.
Justice for the clitoris.
Respect and honor for the clitoris. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Holly. This was fun. I hope anyone listening had some insights.
Yes, thank you for our listener question. Again, we will be back next Wednesday at 8:30. Feel free to leave us questions, comments, topic suggestions, whether it be here on Twitch or on YouTube. And we will see you next week. Okay.